Hello, everybody. This is Scott Roberts with Jareeh Hubbell, and somewhere hidden is Kent Marts, okay, here on the
Hello,
OpenGOTO
everybody.
Community Live. Yep. Can we hear you out there, Kent?
Hello, everybody. Can you
Oh,
hear
okay.
me?
I think he's either inside the iPad or inside the iXOS 100. We're not sure. Anyhow, uh, Jerry and Kent today are going to run through every feature of the ExploreStars app for iPad. And we're going to start from the beginning. So I'm going to let you take it away, Jerry.
Yeah, so Kent's there with the pad, and we've got a picture of the mount there so we can show you that it moves when we actually move it. And so what Kent's going to do is he's going to start the install from scratch of the ExploreStars from the Apple Store. So go ahead.
So here we go to the App Store. And I know what
I
the
know what
problem is.
you got to disconnect from the
Yep.
network. Yep.
Got to disconnect back here to Wi-Fi and go to, we're going to tell this to forget the network so that we show how to log into it from clean.
It's the PMC network that we were previously
Right.
connected to.
So now we're going to hook up to the wireless here. I'm going to hook up to the ES guest.
That's what you have
Now.
to do at home. You have to connect your tablet to your Wi-Fi for the internet.
And so go to the App Store and tell it to retry. It's always good to make mistakes because it teaches people that what happens. Okay, so we're going to now search for ExploreStars. And I spelled it right. We're going to hit search. And ExploreStars comes up. And if you've never downloaded it before, it'll say get right here. But because I've downloaded it before, it shows that I've a cloud, so it's going to come down from the cloud. Same thing, though,
Is that
after
a
you tap the button.
mushroom cloud?
Hopefully not. Hopefully, we won't nuke my iPad. Okay, so it gives you the progress button, and the iPad version is we got a good fast network here, but there's nothing to do other than download it. There's no database to load or anything else. And so now that we have it, I'm going to go back to my settings, and we're going to see down here sooner or later trying to make it show up. Of course, in testing, there it goes. PMC-8 9B56. That 9B56 is the name of this specific mount. It's a unique identifier for it. The password for the PMC-8 system is exactly like it's written right there, PMC-8. So it's PMC minus sign 8. So we're going to tap on it. And now we're going to hit P, capital M, capital C, and this is where it gets tricky. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to hit here, and I've got 1, 2, 3. I'm going to
It's
watch right
PMC-Eight with
here,
capital PMC.
right? And now we're going to hit the above the X sign, which is the minus sign. Okay, see it came up X, so I'm going to hit it again. There we go.
Yeah.
So now I've got the dash, and now back to the letters, capital E, and then lowercase I, G, H, T, and now we're going to hit join. If I type the password right, we're going to join the PMC-8 network.
Okay.
Basically, the mount is broadcasting a Wi-Fi signal just like your home router does. And just like you use a password to get onto your home router, we're using a password to get onto the Wi-Fi signal broadcast by the PMC-8 system. And this is the same whether it's for the iXOS 100 or the Exos 2 with PMC-8. The system works exactly the same. As you can see from the pictures, we have it set up on an iXOS 100 right now. So I'm going to hit the home button, and there's ExploreStars. So we're going to launch ExploreStars, and we're going to hit the menu button, and we're going to hit settings.
And I'm going to go make sure it's in the home position. So
Okay, we're going to hit settings. The first thing we do is right here where it says mount type, G11. Well, this is not a G11. This is a IXOS 100. So notice it's sort of hidden down here. Some people find it. And we're going to tap done. And now we're going to tell it to load GPS coordinates. And we're going to tell it to allow while using the app. You always want your app to be able to pick up the most accurate coordinates from the tablet, because that makes your system your go-tos more accurate. One thing I like to do is turn off auto align, which is right here. So now when I go to do a 2-star alignment or a 3-star alignment, it doesn't just automatically go to the first star picked in the system. It will let me step through the stars until I find one that I can see clearly and align to. It also has an effect when we do some go-tos, and you'll see that here in a few minutes. So I'm looking, the longitude and latitude is correct. So we're going to go to all these other numbers don't matter. People say, you can hide align data, hide debug mode, ignore FW. That's an inactive button. They're just they're there for testing and protocols that were developed early.
Hey, Kent?
Yep.
Ignore FW is not as a feature. It works. That allows you to either select your own mount. If it says not ignore, if it says use FW, I think, then it will automatically look at your firmware on your mount and select for you. That's what that feature is.
Let's state that again. That's not very clear.
Yeah.
What does this
I was
do?
thinking the JRH button. Okay.
No. So what is that right now? What does it say on that button?
Using firmware.
So what that does, so when you select that button, it says using firmware. That means the ExploreStars will go out and query the mount and say, oh, your firmware version XYZ. That means you're an IXOS 100, or you're a firmware 123. So that means you're a G11, and that'll automatically select the mount. So if you toggle that button to say using feed the firmware, you won't have to select. You shouldn't have to select your mount like Kent did earlier.
Old habits die hard. Okay, so we're going to hit the home button. And now, the way I always test it is to find out, just a real quick test. I'm just going to grab, this is called the joystick. A lot of people think of it as a compass rose. This is a virtual joystick. I call this thing in the center of the fireball because it's sort of red.
The fireball.
The fireball, of course, there we go. And so I'm going to move it, and I can hear the mount moving, so I know we're connected to it. So now we're ready to do a couple of things. So I'm going to demonstrate some movement now. The 0 right there means that we're moving at sidereal rate. So if we hit the right button, we're going to move at twice sidereal rate, Jareeh, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Right.
So we're going to move a little bit. You can't see it with your eye, but if you have a camera on it, you can see it. But to make this demonstrative, or if we're going to manually move it across the sky real fast, I'm going to tap 9, and we're going to go at a speed of 9, and which is
what's the maximum rate? That's about 3.5 degrees per second at the top rate.
So I'm going to turn it in right ascension. So I'm going to hit the right button. We're going to go right, and we can see the mount, I think, on the screen, right? There it goes, and you can see the mount turning counterclockwise in right ascension. And so I'm going to let off, and the mount's going to ramp down, and we can see the speed right here, and it's slowed down. Oh, one thing we didn't talk about, off the bat, check the date and time. So we're going to check the date is correct, and it says it's 4:39:52, and I'm going to check that with my iPhone, which shows us at 4:39. So we're good to go there, okay? So we know that the date and time are correct. Check the longitude and latitude, they're correct, so it picked it up. So now I'm going to go in declination up as a speed of 9, which is going to turn the mount, if you're looking down on it, clockwise.
Oh, wait a minute. Try that again.
That looked like it worked.
It did, but I didn't. I didn't have the camera on it.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I'm just
Okay,
sending
so
some
I'm going to
answers
leave.
straight.
I'm going to leave the pad on one side and the telescope on the other side here for a little
Okay.
bit. Okay,
Yeah,
and
that's
you guys
good.
can
So
run through.
so I'm going to hit the up button, which turns declination, and then the up button turns it in clock. If you're looking down from above the mount, it's going to turn it clockwise.
So while you're doing that, I want to recognize that Bill Black is with us tonight, Dusty Haskins, Chris Moses, Anshul Puri. Yeah, Anshul sent me an email earlier today. Very nice email. So thanks for watching, everybody.
Okay, so now I'm just going to demonstrate what people need to know, menu, and this is where all the interface happens pretty well. Right now, I'm just going to hit settings, and we're just going to park the mount for the time being. We're going to go back to the park position, and yesterday, we talked about the difference between park and home. The way I've got it set up, it's all the same. So the mount
Well,
would
the
be
ExploreStars does not allow you to set a custom home or
correct.
custom park position. It only has park and home to be the north or south celestial pole.
Right. So it's going to go back to the place where it started. So we had it lined up at the north celestial pole, lined up with the polar axis. So it's returned back to the park position. All right, Jerry, what do you want to do now?
So let's go ahead and demonstrate the catalog, the simple catalog we have.
Let's go to the sun. So menu is that interaction. Let's talk about this real quick. Okay. Let's do a 2-star alignment. That's what they do. Next, we're going to do a settings, and we're going to go to a 2-star alignment. And because I turned auto slew off, the mount didn't just now take off to a star in Cephas. So I'm going to hit next because there's a tree in the way now. So I'm going to hit next, next again, and say we can go to this one. I'm going to hit enter. And now
you have to hit go to because
I know because I've got auto slew off.
Right.
I have to hit go to. And now it's going to go to a star in Draco. So the camera is pointed basically a little bit north. It's looking southwest sort of at the mount right now. So now we're going to look in the eyepiece and center up, and we'll say it's off just a little bit. So I don't want to move it at speed of 9. We're real close to being centered up because I spent a little bit of time early on getting them out polar aligned and making sure I didn't have any cone error or anything else. And so we know we've got it pretty close. So I'm going to move it right just a couple of touches and maybe up just to simulate they're moving it.
Yeah.
So now I've got it centered up in my eyepiece, or in this case, there's a camera. I've got it as close to the center as I can get it, I think. So I'm going to hit enter. Sync, as we talked about in previous videos, is something different. We're not syncing to this star. We're aligning to this star, so we're going to hit enter. And it should come up.
What does it say?
Eta Draconis. It didn't come up with a next star.
Did you hit it twice on that star?
I probably hit it twice. I bet I double because I'm doing it left-handed. I tapped it twice. So we'll just go back to menu.
It looks
settings.
like you're doing it drunk.
I feel like I'm doing. Go to the refrigerator and give me a beer, Scott. It might help things a little bit better to do it.
Bill
when
Black
you
is
over.
commenting a little bit. He says, overall, this looks very similar to the Windows version that I run on my notebook. Seems like some of the menus are in different locations. That's true. Can you elaborate a little bit, Jerry, on what's the basic difference between Windows and iPad?
The difference between Windows and iPad is, like you said, it's where how the menus work. And so in Windows, it's called settings, preferences. On the iPad, it's called just settings, I believe. Is that right?
That's correct.
And the pull down on the Windows version of ExploreStars is in the upper left hand, where you bring the menu bar down to select to search or to hit settings and preferences. That's how it comes up in Windows. Where here it's just like it's shown here.
So we're going to we goofed up our 2-star alignment, which we do periodically, as all astronomers do when they do things. Got to remember to hit reset alignment. That's going to clear out the alignment data we just set and started setting and did 2 stars on 1 star. So we're going to go to now 2-star alignment, and we can't see that star, so we're going to hit next. Okay, we can see that star in Cassiopeia. So we're going to hit go to. And we can watch our data right here in the OTA data is what this is. And we see it's moving real quick. And a lot of times you're going to be close to it so you can hear it. But if you're doing it from inside the house, whatever, away from it, you can know when it gets there, when things start slowing down. So it's now gotten there, okay? So again, we're going to move it a little bit to get it centered up. Now I'm going to use my right hand this time so I don't mess this up. And I'm going to tell it enter. And now it's gone to another star.
To another star. You see that?
Did you see it jump from Cassiopeia? Now it's in a star in Draco. Can't see that. There's a tree in the way. So I'm going to tap next. Nope, can't see that one. There's a tree in the way. Okay, I can see that star. So, so here we go. Once again, over here to go to. And as you can see right now, right here, it's triangle P. Okay, that means it's in point mode, which means that once it gets there, it's going to turn only in right ascension and rotate the right ascension around to follow that point in the sky. Okay, and so
Kent, that's not quite right.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
That's all. Hey, I'm wrong.
Point mode only works when it's finally got an alignment model, which is what we're working on. And it uses that. When you're in track mode is when it just tracks constantly in right ascension.
Okay, so now then, once again, we're going to move it just a little bit. We're going to hit enter.
And you notice it went to track mode when you hit the manual button.
Right, it changes to tracking. And so on TR, what's it doing, Jerry?
When you go to manual mode or track mode, that means it's just rotating at sidereal rate on the right ascension. It's not doing anything else.
I spoke them backwards. Okay. So now then, we have done a virtual 2-star alignment. And because if you have a perfect polar alignment, you don't need to. But we've done a virtual. So now let's go to the sun.
Oh, wait a minute before you run away here. On when you said if you've done a perfect polar alignment, you don't need to. But what's going on here if you're not doing a perfect polar alignment, Jerry? What is our algorithm actually doing?
So what it does, so when you identify the 2 stars on a 2-star alignment, you're basically telling the mount or the software, this is where my actual coordinates and the motor counts are for this star. And it's different from what the standard coordinates, the celestial coordinates. So now we've modeled the actual where the mount is aligned to in the sky. It's not aligned to the North Celestial Pole. It's aligned to some other position. So now we've got 2 stars. We've told it that this is the way the alignment is at right now, and it models that. So what it does is it transforms. When you enter a coordinate into the ExploreStars to go to via the catalog or manually, it says, okay, I want to go to this coordinate. What does that mean in terms of the motor counts on the mount itself? So it's got to convert the celestial coordinates into the mount coordinate system. which is what the model does. So now it says, okay, I know that if you want to go to this star, let's say you want to go to Jupiter, it says, oh, I know where Jupiter is based on where the mount is aligned to. It says these are the motor counts for Jupiter, and you'll go there. So that's what that's doing.
Yeah. So
So
for
we just have,
basically, I mean, the benefit of this is if you did not do a correct polar alignment, okay, it's still going to track things properly in the sky. And when I say properly, it's going to hold the object in the field, okay? So
Yep.
you're going to be making, the mount will compensate both in declination and right ascension and follow that object in the sky. In a perfect polar alignment, we just have to move along one axis. But in an inaccurate polar alignment, if you want to do something really casual, it's going to move up and over, up and over, up and over, compensating for it in declination too. So,
Right.
it just makes it so if you're doing visual work and you really want to be casual about it, a 2 or 3 star alignment corrects for the errors that you might have had with a regular standard equatorial mount. Chris Moses says, is the 2 or 3 star alignment creating a mount model, or that compensates for PA error, polar alignment error, or does it show you the polar alignment error? It actually compensates for it. Does it show
Right.
it to you too?
No, I could write a program that would read the transform calculation values, the parameters that it creates for the transform. I could take that and convert it into a value for polar alignment error. Basically, you could do that, and that's something I've talked about doing for a while with a few people. I think I mentioned it to Chris. That's
Yeah.
probably why he's asking about it.
That's why he's asking about it. He said he should have waited 10 seconds. And then, of course, you answered the other question within about 20 seconds.
yeah.
It's good. We can read your mind, Chris.
Chris also asked, does ES have a polar alignment tools?
Yeah, that's what I just
Oh, okay.
read. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Had an employee walk up asking me questions here.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's.
So now we're aligned. We're ready to go to an object, right?
Yep. So let's go to the sun. Easy to find. So we're going to go to catalog. So it's main catalog settings. We're going to go to catalog. And up here at the top, we're going to tap solar. And we're going to pick the sun. And up here at the top, it says, over here, you got all sorts of information you can read, get educated about the sun. Has a picture of it.
Blazing. It looks like it's hot outside.
It is. Be careful.
Yes.
You could burn
Yep.
that
And-
index finger of yours completely off.
And as a cautionary, I say this every time. If you're going to point at the sun, you better make sure you have a solar safe filter, because we don't want to boil an eyeball. And if you got a finder scope on it, put something over the finder scope so you don't boil your eyeball or burn yourself on some sun coming through the finder scope. So we're going to tap slew to, and because I've turned auto slew off to make it easy to do a 2 or 3 star alignment, I could go back and turn auto slew on. I've just gotten to where I just do this instinctively. Slew to, go to, off the mount goes to the sun. And so it's just going to sit here, and wish we had a microphone on it to hear the beautiful, quiet sound it makes.
No, I stuck microphones right up inside of it.
Oh, I'd forgotten you did
That's
that.
how
Yes,
quiet
they're
it is.
silent.
Actually, seriously, folks, it's very quiet. For those of you that own one, you know that, especially if you've owned any other brand of amateur go-to telescope, so DC servo motors with their reduction gears are really noisy. Bill Black comments, he says it shows the near 1 and near 0 transformation factors if you ask to see them, at least in the Windows version.
Yeah, there's a preference setting. There's a setting that you can show there's two settings. One shows debug data, and one shows what is it called?
Target log on and target log off.
No.
Oh, not target log.
Yeah, I don't think this
Hot-
version is in the iPad
Hot
version.
show alignment data.
Show alignment data,
There
right?
we
That's it. It shows alignment data, so you can see it down there. And if anybody out there knows about matrix calculations, there's a thing called an identity matrix, which means so the identity matrix is basically when you have the mount coordinate system matches the celestial coordinate system, the identity matrix will be in those transform coefficients. And anything, so it'd be like 1 0 0 1 0 0 0 1 0 0 1 or something like that. You can see there's 9 values there, and you should have, if you're really close to polar line, you'll have values that are as close to 0 and close to 1, which I think is what you show there. Isn't that right, Kent?
That's correct. Yeah, we have a value on one of 0.0001 and a negative value of the same thing on another one. So showing it's very, very, very close to a perfect polar alignment. Darren Drake asks, hi Darren, can the software go to a star according to the polar misalignment and allow for an adjustment to acquire perfect polar alignment? Can the software go to a star according to the polar alignment and allow for an adjustment?
I think Darren's asking for this, this PA software, that polar alignment software that we've been discussing. Short answer is no, really.
Well, there's two sides of this. One is so let's say you've got the model, you've done the alignment, and then you go to a star, and it's still off. So what you could do is you can manually center the star, and then that's where you hit the sync button. So that would synchronize the motor counts to that position at that point.
Yeah, but that's not improving your polar alignment.
No, that's not improving your. Well, it is kind of in that local area.
You're pointing alignment, but not polar alignment.
Not polar alignment, right?
Yeah, pointing alignment.
So it doesn't build up 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 additional mathematical additions to the transform. It's either a 2-star or a 3-star transform, alignment, but you can't add to that after 2 or 3 stars.
I mean, imagine it this way. If you had a blanket stretched overhead and you had little dots on it, and those are your stars, and you've made this polar, you've done your alignment, things are tracking, but this, this part of the sky is off a little bit. When you hit sync, it's like dragging the blanket over, a little bit. So if you go to another part of the sky because you've jerked the blanket over, it's it could be a little bit off because you're more biased towards this one position in the sky.
Okay, so we haven't gone to. Did we go to the sun? I think we went to the sun, didn't we? Okay.
Yeah, we're pointed at the sun right now.
Yeah.
And boy, is it bright.
It is bright. Okay, so let's go to.
Let's show what other objects we can go to.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go.
Yeah,
let's
do
go
the whole catalog and
catalog.
Let's do the enter array and deck coordinates.
Messier.
So the catalog is got 80-some thousand objects in it. Just to let everybody know.
Like 88,000 or some number. So we're going to look at M1, the Crab Nebula, is up. We know it's up because the one next to it, M2, says it's below the horizon. So we're just going to go to M1. We're going to tap it, and here's all sorts of information you can read about M1. It shows a picture of it, roughly what constellation we're going to, and we're going to tell it to slew to the object. But because I have auto align turned off, we have to hit go to. And now the go to.
It didn't move very far. Did it stop? Did it stop moving on the OTA data?
It's alt and as are turning. It says it's polar lined. So let's try.
Does it say on the OTA data that it's at the target? You've got a target value, and then you've got the OTA value.
Target value is M1.
Does the right ascension and declination match to the OTA?
5 hours, 34:30. Yes, sir.
So it wasn't very far from the sun, basically.
The target value is right here, 5 hours, 34 minutes, 30 seconds. And the right ascension is 5 hours, 34 minutes, and 31 seconds. So we know that the sun is in Taurus right now. So let's try something else. Menu, catalog, Messier. Let's just scroll, look for something that's up. Here's M35. Let's go to M35. Pseudo object, go to, off it goes. So M35 is off the foot of the angled foot of Gemini.
That wasn't very far away either.
Nope, it wasn't. I can't get lucky. So we're at 6 hours, 8 minutes, 54, 6 hours, 8 minutes, 55. So we're right there. Okay. So we're going to try it again. Catalog Messier. This is what we know M37.
Okay, so
this shows you how fast you can go between objects too.
Where were you last? What's the last object you were on?
M35.
M35, which constellation?
Gemini. Between Gemini and Auriga.
Okay.
So here we're going to go to M80. Let's go to M81. We know that's going to be away from the sun. Pseudo object. It's because it's in the Ursa Major, M81, M82. And we're going to hit go to. And there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, I would be remiss if I didn't say hi to my wife who's watching. Hi, Natalie.
Hi, Natalie.
I just looked down, checked comments, and went, that name looks familiar. Wave at the camera. That was Amy. It's over there.
Yeah, we have
employees. She just walked by.
Coming through.
So as you can tell, it's pointing north and swinging around now in the right ascension. What's cool is to watch it turn in right ascension and see the camera is sort of just already there and pointing at that spot. So
looks like it's getting there close.
RA is 95 or 9 hours 55 49. There we go. It's done. So that's Messier objects. So let's hit menu, catalog, NGC, and this is where you get a lot of things to pick from.
Yeah, let's demonstrate the search tool on this.
Okay, so
that's important.
Search. What do you want to go to, Jerry?
So type in NGC.
NGC
2903.
2903.
I'm not sure if it's up or not, but we'll see.
Didn't come up with anything, so it's
do it again. Put a space in there.
Yep, I saw that.
I can't remember if it was there needs to be a space or not. There does, apparently.
There we go.
There it is.
All right, there it is. Okay. So hit that. And it's in Leo.
Got no information on it, but it shows.
Yeah, a lot of objects not going to have information because there's a lot of, that'd be huge.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, on the NGC objects. But now it shows us where it is in Leo now.
Now you see the camera's turning a little bit. It's not too much further away from where we were.
Right.
It's almost straight up.
It's just turning in declination.
Yep. All right, cool.
Okay, so what else you want to do, Jerry? You want to do search again?
Go to a planet.
Go to a planet. Let's go to a planet. There's not a planets tab up here, so we know
solar
is a solar item.
Let's go to a minor planet. Let's look at one of the minor planets we have listed there.
Let's see if Vesta's up. If
That's
Vesta is
yeah,
not
that's
up,
a cool object. If you've never looked at a minor planet, it's going to look like a star, but it's going to be it's going to vary across the sky because it is in the solar system. So it's cool to say, yeah, I looked at an asteroid today. I looked at Vesta.
so Vesta wasn't up. We know it wasn't
Okay.
up because it
All
didn't
right.
have a slew to.
Okay.
Ceres has a slew to. So go to.
Ceres is in the main belt. It's the largest object in the main asteroid belt.
And we could have read about it. There's a whole long description before you hit the slew to and go to.
So what it does when it swaps over, it's crossing the meridian. Basically, it's doing a pier flip. That's why it comes back to looks like it's at the home position. So when it slews around, it's going to the opposite side of the sky.
And people have asked about a pier flip warning on this. There is no pier flip warning, right?
No, what you have to do if you want to see if it's close to, well, when your when your counterweight bar gets to be horizontal, you're getting near the meridian. So that's one indication you can look for. The other one is if you look at the LMST on the display, the local mean sidereal time, and compare that to the right ascension where you're pointing at, that's how you can tell. If those times are close to each other, that means you're near the meridian.
Okay, so there we are. We've now gone to Ceres with our Canon 5D Mark III with a 18 millimeter wide angle lens. So we're going to get Darren Drake. He says he's resolved the disc of Vesta in his 18.
Wow.
I suspect we're not going to resolve the disc of Ceres in our 18 millimeter lens as opposed to his 18
DSLR.
inch lens. I don't think we're going to have quite enough resolution power. All right, so let's go to menu again, catalog. Here's a tour at Bright. Here's a bunch of bright stars.
Cool. They really are.
Bright stars to go to. And then there's a tour button. And here's a tour of all sorts of different things. Many of these you just have to look for ones that are below the horizon.
You mean above the horizon that are not below the horizon?
That are not below the horizon. So
those are the tour. I think picks out all the objects within that constellation that you're at right now.
Yeah, because that's what it's doing. They're picking all those constellations. Yep, in Virgo. So let's.
I think we showed all the different objects in the catalog.
Yes, we have.
Yeah. Did we go through entering in your own right ascension declination coordinate?
Oh, that's a good idea. Go to the settings. And you can do that. You can enter either right ascension declination, or you can enter altitude and azimuth also. If you have a terrestrial object that you want to point to that you know the coordinates are.
It's not here.
In altitude and azimuth.
It's not settings. It's coordinates.
Oh, coordinates. Okay.
So, pick something, Jerry.
So let's just put in an altitude and azimuth. So, and you can use a decimal altitude and azimuth. So you can put like altitude 45.00. Or you can do
point.
You can do point or space.
Okay.
Either one.
Let's go 4500. And what do you want to do here?
And do 270 on azimuth. That's west. So we're going to point west up 270 degrees west and up at a 45-degree angle.
So I've got 45 and I got 45.00 and 270 space 00. Jerry said it was both work, so we're going to.
So you hit the button that says altitude.
Submit Alt as. Bill Black asks, is that
I
a
was just typing in the answer.
Sir?
I was just typing in the answer.
Yes. Yeah, this is actually the HD IXOS 100 HD version that has the, you can see that it's got the azimuth adjustment plate on it.
Yeah, Cohen, you came in a little bit after we started this program. This is on the iPad, and so this is the iPad version. Don't think this could run on a desktop.
On a Mac, no, it cannot.
Mm-hmm.
On a PC desktop, it can.
ExploreStars for Windows.
Yes.
Could.
Yeah, Windows
Yeah.
on a Windows.
Yeah, Windows.
But not for the iPad.
So
they are different.
So Jerry, let's.
So let's. That's. I don't know what else there is to show, really. I think we've gone through pretty much all the features.
Let's review all of the setup features.
Oh, go to park. Go to park. That's the last thing.
Park, yes. So we're done for the night.
I think it's not going to park correctly because you started an alignment without it being in park. In the park position, you moved it slightly. So let's see how close.
Well,
how close it goes back to park.
That's not true either because, again, my genius in the
your genius
in the coding. My genius in the coding, it sets the park position is actually motor count 00.
Okay.
So here we go. Park button.
Okay, here we go. All right, I want to see the look on Jerry's face.
No, but the coordinates will be off, but the position will be park. The coordinate calculation will be off, but it's not going to be off by much because we're darn near perfect on the transform, so it'll be close. I see what you're saying. You're saying the coordinates might not match.
Yeah.
The 90 degrees.
Yes.
So
the 90 degrees might come up 89 point and 89, 58, 60, 16 seconds or something. We'll see what it comes up.
So Anshul has asked if the chosen object on the tablet on-screen list is below the horizon at the time, will it give you a message or warning? It doesn't give you a message other than it shows it on the catalog that it's below the horizon. So, and it doesn't give you a warning if you're getting ready to go below the horizon. It's just going to disappear in the telescope. Oh, and Bill Black is responding to Jerry's genius with a yes, indeed, exclamation point, Jerry. So Bill Black confirms your genius.
Yeah, he is pretty smart.
Yep. All right. I guess that's why you keep him around, huh?
Although I'm able to trick him on a routine basis, so.
Yeah, Scott's a trickster. He's a trickster.
I am. I absolutely am.
Okay, so what else do we want to look at?
Okay, so I think what we want to do, since we're giving this introduction, we're giving this introduction of the ExploreStars iPad version. We just need to go through the setup menus a little bit, just in detail one more time, just to review it. And,
okay, on the setup. Okay.
Yeah.
So menu.
Mm-hmm.
Settings.
Settings. Yeah,
and
let's just talk about these settings just once.
So going across the top, show alignment data. Jerry, I'll point at them. You talk about them. Show alignment data.
Show alignment data just shows the transform parameters or the coefficients in the transform. That's all it does on the main display.
Yeah.
So
it's not for the beginner, I guess, but.
No, it's a toggle. It turns it on and off. That's all that button does.
Okay. Right. The next one across is auto align on or off.
Now, what does that do?
That tells you that when you do an alignment, if it's on, that means it automatically slews immediately to the first star as soon as you hit the as soon as you hit the 2-star or 3-star alignment button. It'll go to the first star automatically.
Yeah.
Or if you're have done a star alignment and you tap the sun, as soon as you tap the sun, it takes off for the sun.
Right. So, it's automatic slew is what it is.
Right. And so where it comes into play is if you can see all the stars that it wants to in a 2 or 3-star alignment, you're fine with that. But if you have to pick a star and you don't turn that off and you have to go 6 stars into it,
Yeah.
you either let it slew all the way to the first star and then you pick the next one. There's a way around that because, and this is something we haven't talked about, when a slew is going on, and let's get a slew going here real quick. This is important. Let's go to solar. We're going to the sun, slew to the sun, go to, and I look up and I go, oh my gosh, my telescope is getting ready to hit the mount. I can just hit a button and it stops the slew.
Hit any manual, hit any of the manual
button, right?
buttons.
Any of the manual buttons, and that puts it emergency stop.
Okay, show that again.
So here we go. Going to slew again.
Actually, it stops the slew. It doesn't stop the mount. It goes to track mode.
It stops it and puts it in track mode. So I'm going to hit catalog, sun, slew to, go to, and I realize that I don't have my solar shade on, or it's going to hit something.
Yeah, you want to stop it.
Right there. You hit the up button, and it goes.
Is it any button or just
LRUD. Left, right, up, down.
Okay, and the direction keys will stop it.
Correct.
The direction key.
All right, great feature. All right, let's go back through.
That's an important
back
feature
to the
to talk
settings.
about.
Okay.
So back to settings, hide debug data.
Yeah.
Yeah, the debug data is just really system information. It'll give you the motor counts and some other miscellaneous information that's only good for troubleshooting problems. If we may use that with a customer if we want him to tell us what the motor counts are for some reason, but otherwise you don't need to look at it.
Right here is target log off.
That's another debug feature. It allows you to record what you're doing. It's kind of cool. We used it for debugging when we first developed the system, but it
like
creates a file.
Box. Yeah.
It's like a log file.
Yeah.
Okay, so underneath it is load GPS coordinates. That's pretty obvious what it is. Below that is latitude and longitude.
Maybe it's not obvious what it is. Okay, so load GPS coordinates. What does that really mean?
Jerry?
So when you first start up the system, those longitude and latitude values will be blank. And let's say you don't know, you have to go look out, you think you need to enter those values. This button allows you to read the GPS on the tablet and insert the data for you. You don't have to go find out where you're at. And this is great. This is great for when you go out in the field. If you're going to different places, you don't have to sit there and look it up. You can just hit that GPS information. It'll fill it in for you.
Yeah.
And Jerry, this is, what system does this use as far as?
What system?
Yeah, what coordinate system does it use? GPS?
It's the Earth coordinates where your location is.
Is it minute seconds?
Oh no, decimal? This is decimal. It's a decimal degrees.
And so, can you look on your phone and just take it off your phone? And if you have a GPS app?
Yeah, and the GPS applications typically allow you to select whether it's degrees, minutes, seconds, or decimal degrees. And this uses decimal degrees.
The decimal, and you've got it exactly.
Right. Okay. Now, another thing while we're talking about longitude is, and this is where we have sometimes mistakes, people don't put in the minus sign if they're west of the prime meridian. So we're in the Western Hemisphere. So longitude
west of where the
Greenwich
Observatory is in England.
Right.
Right.
So correct. So it has to have a minus sign.
Yeah. So, but if it's taking it from your tablet, if it's taking the GPS from your tablet, it's going to put it in there.
Correct. But if you're putting it in manually, which people do, has to have that minus sign, or else it'll point to somewhere in Russia or China or somewhere. Okay.
Cool.
That brings up one other issue with the time. So you need to understand how to set the time on your tablet, and typically, it could. I don't know. It depends on. I guess it gets it off the GPS signal also. That has a time signal on it, but you got to get the time zone.
Let's
Correct.
talk about that real quick. We didn't talk about that. We're going to go into settings real quick and go to general. And on Android and Windows, it's different, but it's surprising how off some people's times can be. Date and time, and then 24-hour clock, show AM, PM, show data, set automatically, and you turn that on. And the time zone, we're in the central time zone, so I've set it to Chicago. So a lot of people don't care if the time's right on their iPad because they're not using an application where that matters. But for this,
It matters.
that matters.
Yeah,
That
it sure
matters
does.
a lot, because if that time's off, your go-tos will never be correct.
Yeah, 1 minute in time. If you're off the clock by 1 minute, that's equal to 1/4 of a degree in pointing error, and that's some eyepieces are less. Can be within 1/4 of a degree, and you'd be off the edge of the eyepiece.
So,
Or you're imaging, or if you're imaging too.
Cohen is in Belgium, and without a map in front of me, Belgium is going to be east, probably of the prime meridian.
That's right. That's the
and
reason
so
why his coordinate system in longitude is like 3 degrees and something.
Okay, 3, and so he's going to be
3.8597 is what he's saying.
Yeah, so it's just 3. That's correct. Okay, so anyway, so that's how to set. Make sure your time is set automatically. It picks it up off the telephone signal or the Wi-Fi signal, or the GPS signal, and goes on down the road. So back to the app, and there we go. Okay, so over here to the top, ignore firmware or utilize firmware.
That will automatically fill in your mount information,
which is right here, mount type, Exos 100. RA steps is a number, and deck steps is a number. Jerry, we don't mess with those.
You don't mess with those. Those are filled in based on your mount information.
And tracking speed and
that's all.
size.
It's all just information to show you. It doesn't necessarily need to be on there, but again, we show it.
So then 3-star alignment, 2-star alignment, stop alignment, reset comm link, and park.
Yeah, reset comm link. Basically, what happens is this uses a protocol that's a streaming protocol. So what you'll notice is that you can send commands to the mount and it'll respond, but it won't send data back from the mount to the tablet to show you where it's at. So if you ever notice that, then what you need to do is hit reset comm link, and that'll reestablish the data transfer both ways.
Okay.
And what's the difference between a 2-star alignment and a 3-star alignment, Jerry? And which one would you recommend?
I generally recommend a 3-star because that takes into account a couple of other errors that the 2-star does not take into account. It doesn't. The model's not perfect. The 3-star alignment, there's a couple of model errors that could happen that still cause a little bit of error, but in general, the 3-star alignment will compensate for your cone error. So if your telescope is not aligned to the axis, to the mount axis, that's what cone error is, and it'll compensate for that with a 3-star alignment, but not with a 2-star alignment.
So it's sort of like if you've ever had a pair of binoculars, cone error. If you've ever had a pair of binoculars and one of them is out of alignment, looking off in a different spot, that's cone error effectively. Your telescope is looking at a different spot in the sky than the polar axis of the telescope is pointing.
Right. Than what the coordinates think it's pointing at.
Okay. So
Bill Black has a couple of questions here.
Oh, go ahead.
So if you change that tracking speed, will it track using that change?
Yeah, that's one other feature that's in the ASCOM driver. You can set the tracking speed to whatever, and you can set it here to whatever you want. And that's how you compensate for. That's how you can select.
So where would you change
the solar rate?
Tracking
the solar
speed?
rate or the lunar rate you can set there. you can set that value. I believe it's right there on that value where it
On the
says
tracking
48
speed?
on the RA axis. Does it let you enter the
RA.
data there?
Nope.
Okay, so there's
Oh, I
a
see. It
spot.
says tracking speed right there.
Yes, I can tracking speed, but it doesn't give us a pull down menu.
No. So
It's
right
in
now,
hertz, right?
that's a manually set value. We have a manual called the Programmer's Reference Manual that has a
Right.
table in it that tells you what to set it for if you want to do lunar or solar rate. Solar rate's kind of overkill because the difference between solar and sidereal is only 4 minutes a day, and you'll never see that over a half an hour to an hour of viewing. In the eyepiece is a little bit of drift. So if you were trying to track the sun and take solar images, that drift would be very, very small over a half an hour.
Yeah.
And typically when you're tracking objects with bright objects like the moon or the sun, which is the solar and lunar rates that you want, you're doing video anyway. And so again, it doesn't really give you anything extra to try to change those rates.
The second part of Bill's question was, like if I'm tracking the ISS or something.
International Space Station.
Yeah.
So how fast can we track?
Right
The ISS
now,
is
a precision
screaming
tracking
along.
rate. The precision tracking rate is set to. It's about the highest precision tracking rate is 25 times smaller than the full speed, which is 3.5 degrees. So 3.5 degrees per second divided by 25 is the fastest precision tracking rate that we could set in the system. What is that? That's probably
So 3.5
That's probably
degrees.
six arc minutes per second or something like that.
Let's see.
Is that fast enough to track the ISS, Jerry?
I believe that's a degree. That's the degree every 10 seconds. So
Well,
So
there's
that'd be
3,600 arc seconds in a degree times 15. That's sidereal rate. So 1 degree is 54,000 arc seconds, or 54,000.
no 1 degree is 3,600 arc seconds.
Right.
Right.
So you're moving
So
15 arc. Oh, I got that wrong. So 3,600 divided by, for a degree per second, would that be divided by 60?
Jerry, we can't hear you.
3.5 times 3,600, and then you divide that by 25.
Okay, got it. Thank you. And divide that by 25. And that comes up to 504
Arc seconds per second.
504 arc seconds per second. So
divide that by 60,
divide
and
that
that'll
by
be
60, and that gives you 8.4.
Okay, so it's 8.4 arc minutes per second, which means you're tracking at about that's 8:16.
So what's 60
That's like
divided
it's
by
like a degree,
8.4?
8 seconds per degree. That's pretty fast.
It's pretty fast. I don't know how fast the ISS goes across the sky.
It takes
I would
90
imagine it
minutes
goes at different
orbit.
rates.
It takes to make a complete orbit revolution, not orbit. That's the same thing. Is 90 minutes.
Right. So it depends on how high it is in the sky, how long it takes. Typically, it takes 3 or 4 minutes to cross the sky, I think, which is 100. Let's say 180 degrees, 3 or 4 minutes.
I think a straight overhead is more like 6 minutes.
Okay, so let's say 6 minutes and 180 degrees. That's 3 degrees per minute, or is that right? No, 30 degrees per minute. All right.
So we're
which
going
is it's a half a degree per second.
So we're going 8.4 minutes per second at maximum rate.
Yeah, so it's taken 30 seconds to go a degree. So that's much. So we're slewing much faster. We could slew much faster if we could track the ISS, I think.
Yeah. It looks like we
Uh,
more than.
if we could
Oh, he said
calculate
Darren
the
says it's
position.
not fast enough for the ISS.
Or if you could somehow get a guide scope to lock onto it.
Yeah, you'd have to guide on it and then track the rate on both deck and RA because it's not along either axis.
Right. So sounds like
That's a precision track. Now, slewing, if you go into slew mode, you definitely could you could track much faster objects. But I think in precision track mode, we could do it. It depends. I'd have to go back and look at that again.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, one of the things I do know, Darren Drake's commenting. He says it's not fast enough for the ISS. 8.4 minutes per second. So if you're going.
You're going 1 degree every 8 seconds, or 7.5 seconds. You're going 1 degree every 7.5 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's moving.
Which is
but I've visually observed the ISS, and it's hauling across the sky. So
yeah. Well, it depends on how high. So at the horizon, it's moving slower, but then when it gets up to zenith, it's moving its fastest rate, and then as it goes over the horizon, it slows down because it's going away from you.
Yeah. Doppler effect.
It's a Doppler. Yeah, it's going away from you or towards you. It's moving slower, but then when it gets overhead,
we'd have to build in a model for changing speeds and all the rest. All the slew rates are there. We can access it. So someone needs to write that.
That's a great project for the OpenGOTO community right there.
It's a great project.
Sir.
That's
okay. So.
Okay. So
we covered.
Do we have any more questions from the audience at this point? And you can just ask while we're moving on to some other things here.
So the last thing I can show is on our website where you download.
Yeah.
Well, the only other thing is the database. We talked about this yesterday.
Yeah, let's talk about the database.
So there is a facility. We talked about it in yesterday's program with the configuration manager. Let me bring that up. I'll share my desktop. Can you see that now?
Yeah.
All right. This is the configuration manager. Do you see it?
Yeah.
There's a button called ExploreStars. Okay. And what this allows you to do is download the database from our website. You don't have to go manually do any of this. If you got Windows machine. So this only applies to Windows or an Android device that has an SD card.
Right, but you have to have a Windows machine to run this client.
That's right.
Right?
You have to have a Windows. Right. This only runs on Windows.
Yeah.
It'll create it'll put the data where it needs to go on the SD card for Android. If you select that option right here, or to Windows, and then so all you do is select that option. If you're doing an SD card, and then you'll have the removable drive will show up here when you put the SD card in your machine.
Yeah.
As a drive letter, and then you just hit install. So like on Windows, the same way. You'll hit download, and then it'll download it into the correct directory.
Yeah, let's be clear about something. When you have downloaded the the operating system, the iOS system for the iPad tablet, okay, you do not need to download the object database separately. Okay, it comes in with the download. When you are using the Android version, Android forces us to sideload it with an SD card. Okay.
Yeah, they only allow so big a file for the installation file that manages their experience.
The Android store with so large of a file for download, so it just doesn't. It's not allowed. The install to Windows works similarly, but you can just install directly to your Windows system from here.
That's right. So you can set your temporary direct location on the Windows side and it'll temporarily download it there, and then it'll install it in your pictures directory on your account that you're logged into. That's where the ExploreStars directory or folder goes, into your pictures, users pictures directory. And like I said, the same thing it does with the SD card. It installs it right on the root of the SD card where it needs to go, so that when you take the SD drive card out of your PC and stick it in your Android device, it'll be there and it'll start right up.
Now,
And
go ahead.
Mm-hmm. If you have a problem with if your database is not there or it's not in the right spot, you'll just have a please wait.
Right.
No, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. You'll have a database fail. You'll say database is not there. If your database is there, and you see please wait all the time, that means you don't have a wireless or Wi-Fi connection.
Right.
And that's across all three platforms.
Yeah.
Please wait means you don't have a Wi-Fi connection. On Android, there's one other, and if we ever do an Android broadcast, we can show this, set it up. On Android, there's a little message that can pop up, and it says something about SQLite, and then it goes away, and then it comes up with a data file missing. If you get a data file missing, that means that you don't have the database in the right place, or that it has not been extracted correctly.
Right, but the configuration manager will do it correctly.
Fixes that.
Yeah.
And then on Android, Google has a couple of security settings that you have to try and master that can be somewhat difficult to find sometimes. There's one in the apps setting, and there's another one potentially in the security settings that you've got to tell it to enable it to use the external database.
Yeah, we'll cover that when we go over the Android version of ExploreStars.
So Cohen's asking us, are you guys interested in an international version of your database, translations in Dutch? The next 3 months I'll be home due to surgery, so I have the time to translate it. Well, that would be really cool, actually, to get another language version of this.
The data file right now is in XML format, I believe. And Dan Dickerson, we can put him in contact with Dan to get the files and stuff.
Yep.
That's a lot of work.
There's a lot of information in there.
There's a lot of words.
Didn't we have the guy over
you asked for, Cohen.
China? Didn't we work on that for a guy in China?
We did. Yeah.
Did we get it done?
I don't know if they finished it or not. I know that they started on it.
The JOC was working on it?
Yeah, they had a team at JOC that was, That would be a lot of work. The short answer is, can it be localized? Absolutely. Is it a lot of work? Yes, it's a lot of work.
Now, a lot of the localization is within the iOS and the Android operating system. Also, when you just select what language, so it should translate the English words into whatever language you have. But in terms of the database and the information there, that's what would need to be updated.
Yeah. Oh, right. You're talking about the
menu items and
menu
things.
items and stuff would change. Yeah,
right.
But the descriptions. I think that's what I believe that's what you're talking about, Colin, which is a lot of work.
Unless you got a translator program to run it through, and then you just correct it.
There are those.
The Google Translate maybe will.
Yeah.
You can run them through Google Translate and read it.
I've seen it munch, from going back and forth and into China and Japan and other places I've been to. I've seen those translator programs absolutely destroy the language. So, because they'll describe it back to me and I'll go, no, that's not what it said at all. So, yeah.
Jennifer Shelley made a post comment. What is meant by pictures directory is the default pictures folder installed by Windows. You can copy the unzipped ExploreStars folder to the Windows default picture folder. That is correct. The configuration manager, thank you, Chris Moses, makes that so much easier because people sometimes, often, don't extract it correctly. They don't extract it correctly. Or the other thing I run into periodically is they don't realize they copy it onto their OneDrive pictures folder, not the hard drive pictures folder, and then that takes a while to figure out. But they don't have it on the right folder. They have it on the OneDrive, not the hard drive.
So Cohen says, want to do it for myself, so when I have it, and why not share it? That's the spirit, Cohen. Thank you, man. That's what the OpenGOTO community is all about.
That's right.
I believe one of the features, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Jerry, but I think that since we are throwing pictures into the Windows folder, the pictures folder, you can throw in your own pictures, right? If you're an astrophotographer.
Yeah, you could. I think if you learn the database structure, the XML file, actually, you could create XML entries to point to the pictures you want and have the descriptive data you want, and it would be added to the XML into the database. That's the way it's structured. But Dan has been working on that. I think he did a change to the Windows version is different than the Android and iOS, and we're getting those all three together in the same database structure so that you can actually, the database would be the same across all three platforms. And he's in the final stage of getting that done. He's been working on the Windows update version to make it match the Android and iOS for a while now. And he's working with, there's some issues with a couple things that he's trying to weed out. That's why it's taken longer than we expected. But again, that's going to be a uniform. That's going to be the universal version of the code. Will be across all three platforms, along with the database. So once you make the database change for Windows, it'll apply to the iOS and the Android versions if you want to use those versions of the tablet also.
Excellent. So, anything else we need to bring up, guys?
No, I think that's
How about shutting down the scope at the end of the run?
Okay, so it's going to be real straightforward. It's settings, park.
The cool thing about park is if you're at a, stargazing event, or you're set up in your backyard or whatever, see, just a little bit off, okay? And the reason why it's a little bit off, Jerry, is because when Kent started, he moved the mount manually. He showed how you could use the joystick after it was in the very first start position. So, and then he started his alignment. But anyhow, that's you're
Can't hear you, Jerry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what's the coordinate show up there on the declination? It's not 90.
Yeah, declination shows up as 90.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, it's because he moved the mount manually before he started an alignment.
Oh, okay.
It's actually, no, it's pretty.
It should be 0. It should be, the motor counts are 0, I can tell you that.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Okay. So anyhow, Cohen is saying you can always mail me the files if you want that need translation. So we can send you the database.
It's actually, if he downloaded ExploreStars on Windows, or what it depends on what version he's running. He wants to translate, but the Windows version, it's in the folder.
It's dead on. It's just the camera angle makes it look like it's off.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah, it's dead on.
Never mind. I just wanted to be right.
I do too. I want to be right too. So we're
Scott, you're right. It's off by
okay.
6
All right, guys. So
6 microstep.
There's a couple of things I wanted to mention. If you go to our YouTube list you'll see that there's now a playlist for all of these programs. It's listed episode 1 through, this is now episode 5. We have more Explore Now programs coming up, and I'll make individual announcements about those. You'll see those on the Explore Scientific USA Facebook page. And there'll be some links back to these programs from ExploreScientific.com, especially when you get to like the pages for PMC-Eight. For instance, this program will be linked directly to the ExploreStars iOS download section. So just to make it a little easier for reference. And then we had something nice. We have an article that we sent to astronomy.com. You'll see it on their homepage right now, and it's about the Explore Alliance. So it's another membership based program. This is where we have a lot of the programs and events and extended not warranty, but extended care programs that we have. A lot of benefits for Explore Scientific owners on that, but even for non-owners, there's some cool things. So you want to check that out. And I think we're done. So nice program. It's probably the longest program that we've had so far, but thanks for watching, everybody.
Yep.
And
Thanks a
we'll
lot.
see you tomorrow, okay? 4:30 p.m. Central. Take care.
Send us your
Thanks.
questions. Send us your questions.
Bye-bye.